Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name's Caitlin D'Elia and this is Finn. Today we're going to be telling you how to meal prep an entire week's worth of food for under $40, all vegan meals. So if you're interested in more content like that, then make sure that you hit that notification bell, subscribe, so you don't miss out on more videos like this, something like that. Okay, alright, let's get into it. Do you have something to say? So, we decided that we were going to meal prep for this entire week. Now, a little disclaimer, Tim and I don't always eat vegan, but we do try to eat vegan as much as we possibly can. We know that it's better for us, it's healthier for us. So as much as we can, we do eat vegan meals. So this week I'm doing all vegan meals. I planned my meal list beforehand and then I let Tim go to work and pick up the items that were needed. I was planning on doing frozen vegetables because they're less expensive, but I did end up doing fresh vegetables. We had some coupons, there were some sales going on, so Tim said our bill was around $30 at the end. So really inexpensive for an entire week's worth of food. I think we got maybe 14 to 16 meals out of this entire meal prepping. It did take a really long time. I don't normally meal prep, I normally just cook each night. So this was a new experience. Basically, I'm just going to take you through my 5 meals that I made and explain step by step how I made them and explain how you can make them too. So I started with my sweet potatoes. The first potato I chopped up and oiled and salted. And I'm going to bake those at 400. And then my second one, I left it whole and I oiled and salted it, and I'm going to wrap it in tin foil. These are lentils. I just got regular plain lentils. I'm going to use half the bag for the sweet potato cakes and the other half for the sweet potato soup. But first I'm going to rinse them and make sure that they're clean. So this half is not being cooked. That's the half that is going to go in the sweet potato soup and they'll be boiled with the broth. And then the other group is the group that I'm going to boil and use in the sweet potato cakes. And so I want them to be nice and tender. So for the soup, the first thing I'm going to do is start by sweating some onions. So I just made sure that the onions were oiled and all split up and broken. Then I added some garlic and I mixed that all in and made sure it got fragrant. Then the next thing I'm going to do is put some spices in. These were the ones that I chose. And I'm just going to add them and mix them with the onion and the garlic so that they get fragrant. This is an important step that I like to take just to combine the spices and really bring out the flavor. I did want to point out that the spices in this soup are really up to you. You can add whatever you want. You don't have to add what I added. I added black pepper, tarragon, basil, oregano, rosemary, salt, but you can really put anything you want in here just to add a little bit of flavor. Even some just Italian seasoning would go a long way. So then I added the chopped carrot and sweet potato. I used 2 whole carrots and 1 uncooked sweet potato, and I just mixed them with the seasonings. Then I put a whole can of fire roasted tomatoes in there, mixed them up. I really like to use fire roasted tomatoes because they bring a new depth of flavor. I also like things a little bit spicy, so you could add some red pepper flake or sriracha or Tabasco, just a little, give it some pep. Next, I add an entire box of vegetable broth. You could use homemade vegetable broth, but I just find the box is a little bit easier. Then I'm going to bring this to a boil. Once it's boiling, I add the dried uncooked lentils and a generous amount of kale. You could also use collards or spinach or any green of your choice, really. Then this is about ready to go. So I put these into 2 bowls, which you can see right here, and these Pyrex bowls are pretty big. Honestly, they're probably more like 2 servings of soup. These are the cubed sweet potatoes. They taste really yummy, and these are going to go in the sweet potato hash. I mixed it with about half a can of black beans, and I'm also going to be adding some lemon and maple syrup as well as some salt and pepper. Then I add my kale in, and I just allow that to cook down and wilt a little bit. I also decided to make some roasted veggies for this meal, so I did cauliflower and carrots. I oiled and put some lemon on them as well, and salt and pepper, and I just popped those in the oven for 2 different meals that we're going to be having today. And this is the completed sweet potato vegetable hash. I thought it was really yummy, and it turned out great. Next, for the Mexican beans and rice, this is actually a dish that I make on the regular with just some slight variations. So I start by sweating some onions in the pan. I like onions, so they go in everything. I also added some yellow and red pepper and another can of fire roasted tomatoes. I will also be adding the rest of the black beans to this dish, just to get some protein. I normally just use cumin and some chipotle seasoning, but I realized I had this taco seasoning mix pack, so I thought I might as well use that. It's always important to use what you have. Once it was all cooked down, I added some chopped cilantro because I had it, and it added some flavor. And this is the final result. This is probably my favorite recipe that I made. I've never made anything like this before, but I thought I would give it a try. So the base is lentils and sweet potatoes. Both have been cooked down, and then I'm going to put them in the food processor. And then I also added some different ingredients just to add some more flavor and some better texture. So the food processor is going to really chop everything down and make it smooth. Then I'm going to add some nutritional yeast to bring out some cheesy flavor. I also add some basil and some lemon, and I'll use almond flour to help with the texture. Once I had mixed it, I had this thought to make them more smoky and burger-like, so I did a little bit of maple syrup, some Worcestershire sauce, some liquid smoke, and some garlic salt, which is going to make this burger-like. I also added a little turmeric just because I like turmeric, and it's yummy and good for you. Now basically I've got it to a consistency that I can mold it, so I kind of just make a little ball, and then I flatten it and kind of make sure it's patty shaped just like a hamburger would be, and then I'm gonna lay it right on here to cook, and that's it. Pretty easy. So this was the finished result. I also added some of those roasted veggies. We had these for lunch and they were so delicious. Okay, so welcome to our upstairs kitchen. We actually have 2 kitchens, which has been very convenient since we are redoing the kitchen downstairs. Now this one is obviously in desperate need of a remodel, and it will happen eventually, but not right now. We're dealing with downstairs first because that's where we mostly spend our time. So our house was originally made to be 2 apartments. Well, it was being rented as 2 apartments, so this is our upstairs area, which is kind of nice. So we've got like 2 areas to be in, and we do spend less time up here, but it's been convenient to have the second kitchen now that we're remodeling our kitchen. If you haven't seen any of those kitchen remodel videos, they're awesome. You can check them up right here. So I'll put the link right there for you to check them out if you haven't seen those. But let's talk about teriyaki chickpeas. So the first thing I did was I grated some ginger. I like to use a lot of fresh ginger, but you could also use powdered ginger. I think fresh ginger just has a better flavor. Then I added a generous amount of maple syrup. You could really use any liquid sweetener of your choice, honey, agave, whatever you prefer. Then I'm going to add a generous amount of soy sauce. This was actually the last of my soy sauce. I use a lot so that I can get all of the chickpeas covered and coated. I'm also going to be using a chili garlic sauce, And you can find this in any grocery store, or you could swap this out with some sriracha and garlic. This is just a spicy garlic sauce that's used in a lot of Asian dishes. And then I mix that around to make sure everything gets combined well. And then I'm going to be adding my chickpeas. I used 2 cans of drained chickpeas. You could also do more or less in this recipe, just depends on what your needs are and what you prefer. Once I had this all mixed up, I realized that I needed to start on my stir-fry veggies. So I started by heating a pan with some oil, and then I added a generous amount of garlic. Oh, that's too much garlic. I added a good amount of garlic to the pan. And I made sure that I mixed it around and allowed it to become fragrant. Then I added some onions to the pan and allowed them to sweat as well and just cook down just a little bit. After my onions, I went ahead and added some red and green peppers, and I allowed them to cook down just a little bit. And finally, I added some broccoli. All of these are very hard vegetables, so I allowed them to steam for just a little bit before adding some of my other softer vegetables to the stir fry. Now that they've steamed, I'm going to add my portobello mushrooms, my baby corn, and my personal favorite, water chestnuts. Now that I've cooked this down just a little bit, I added some salt and pepper, and now they're ready to go in the bowls. So I made a lot more veggies than I expected, so we actually have 5 prepped veggie dishes. Now I'm going to add the cooked teriyaki chickpeas, which have been cooking for about 1 to 2 hours on high. I just sprinkle them over the top. This is going to add some protein, and I also make sure that I get some extra sauce and sprinkle that over as well to add some more flavor and combine the whole dish together. And this is the finished result. Wow, so we have 16 total meals. They turned out wonderful, and I'm not gonna have to cook all week, which is a huge blessing. I can't wait to see how everything tastes. But guys, I have a crazy amount of dishes, like an ungodly amount of dishes. I'm going to be doing dishes forever. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you plan on making any of these meals, please let me know in the comments below, or if you have any suggestions on how we can make them better, I would love to hear it. Finn and I will be back with another DIY or mommy tips video. Please make sure that you subscribe and click that notification bell so that you don't miss out on another video. Until next time, you got this, mama. I believe in you.